This week's Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary episode, Alison McIntyre and Liz Stirling, who are the art doctors, came along to talk to me about their Zoom videos in lockdown. They do specials once a week about prescribing art and audience engaging, about the British Art Show and mental health. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. Have a listen. So welcome to another Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary episode, and today remotely connecting with me are Alison McIntyre and Liz Stirling, and they are the art doctors. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for remotely connecting in.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what are the art doctors and what do you do?
Yes, okay. Shall I start, Liz?
Yeah, you're good at this bit.
Okay. So, Art Doctors, we started in 2015, I think, when we started prescribing art, contemporary art in the British Art Show, which was on at Leeds Art Gallery. We were kind of asked to do it as a bit of sort of audience engagement work, really.
Yeah.
We came up with the idea of Art Doctors because we wanted to sort of poke a bit of fun, really, at the idea that art is good for you. So it was kind of about mental health, it was about mental well-being. It is going to see and look at art good for you. So we got some white coats and we splattered them with paint, and we got some stethoscopes, and we designed some prescription pads which look really, really similar to real green prescription pads. And we made a logo, because you've always got to have a logo. And then we just hung around, really, on the steps outside Leeds Art Gallery. And people thought we were really funny and were really keen to have a conversation. So then we'd ask them questions and do a consultation, and ask them how they were feeling, maybe ask them what kinds of art they already liked, and then we would prescribe them some things to go and see. So some things might be quite challenging, some things might be quite within their comfort zone. And then they'd take their prescription away with them, go and have a look at the pieces of artwork, and then sometimes come back and have another conversation with us. So it was really, and we were really, really surprised at how many people were really keen to have that conversation. They didn't just run away from us.
And when they came back to you, did sometimes they tell you that they weren't happy with what they'd been prescribed, or they were happy? We always had an interesting conversation. I don't think anyone came back and said they weren't happy with what they were prescribed, but some people came back and didn't like what they'd seen. Oh, okay.
And that made them feel quite uncomfortable, because they didn't really know whether that was okay or not. They didn't, and so that. But actually, when people didn't like things, that caused and created probably the most interesting conversations, because they got to talk about why they didn't like it, and that might lead them into places where they could express what that piece of artwork was actually about and why it made them feel uncomfortable or uneasy or unpleasant, and then they kind of saw a bit of a value in that.
It was also quite a big show. There was a lot of works in there, and it was really popular. A lot of people came to see it, and it was quite difficult for people to see everything in one go. So people quite liked being prescribed a few to look at specifically. Yeah, a bit more, and then if they wanted to look at other stuff as well. But and I think what we've found is that people really want to talk about what they're looking at, whether they feel they understand it or not, and they don't want the gallery to be this silent, very individual space, but somewhere to kind of be social together and talk about ideas or just connect with each other, and so that's why I think they liked being able to talk with us.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes, I suppose, if you're not used to going to an art gallery, it could probably seem quite daunting. And like you say, if there's a lot of works on offer, you're not sure sort of how to sort of access the things that you're going to be interested in. So it's almost like they got like a little consultation before they entered.
And there were some that were fairly impossible to read, I'd say. We had one that we couldn't work out at all, and we went to many shows and kept reading about it. So we started challenging people to go and look at it and come and tell us what they thought it was about.
And was that quite illuminating?
Well, no one seemed to get it, which was funny. It was quite entertaining. People got quite entertained by that, I think.
They did. And also there was some, I think, people who aren't used to going to art galleries might feel like that, but I think people who are used to going to art galleries often feel like that as well. I'd say Liz and I are both we're both interested in art. We both work within the art world, but I quite often feel quite intimidated by the things that I'm looking at and whether I understand them or not. And when we did challenge some people who we went and toured with the British Art Show, so we went to Edinburgh and then to to Norwich as well. And when we were in Norwich, we were at the university, and it was a very, very sort of art knowing audience who were coming to that. And actually, some of those who we challenged to go and tell us what this piece of work were about just avoided us on the way out with this look of like, oh God, don't talk. I don't know what it's about, but I can't actually admit that because I'm supposed to know about this.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
And so how long were you on tour with the British Art Show?
Well, it was in, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was in Leeds for a few months, and then it went up to Edinburgh. So we just went up for a day or 2 days in each place and just did, a little bit of art doctoring in each place. And then at the end of it, we went down to the South Bank, because it was a tour that was organised by the South Bank, and we did. So we had to change things a little bit there, which kind of leads us on to our sort of development of art doctors as an idea, because we were at the South Bank, and there was no exhibition as such. So we had to really think about, well, if we haven't got any actual artworks to prescribe, what are we going to prescribe to people? So we started really thinking about sort of creativity and mental well-being in a sort of broader sense, and about how we might prescribe creative activities, sort of everyday creative activities. There's also there's a singing lift. What's the building called, Liz? On the
Royal Festival Hall.
Festival Hall or South Bank Centre, yeah. There's a singing lift anyway, so we did prescribe that, and it sort of sings as you go up, the voice gets higher, and as you go down, it gets lower.
That sounds great.
And then we kind of prescribed, because we were right by the river, we prescribed people like go and just stand and just take in the river and think about it for a while, and then write down whatever's come into your head. And so we started really thinking like that with it, and we're doing a lot more of that kind of work now, really.
So what sort of work has it led on to then?
Well, quite a range. It's really expanded into different kind of areas, and sometimes we get approached and asked if we want to take part in maybe an event or a project, and then we've also initiated our own project, and we started to work more with specific groups of people. We've also done quite a lot with Love Art in Leeds, and often we become a bit like a bridge between an audience or visitor and perhaps an event or an organisation, or a way to help animate a space and get conversation going through kind of looking and making.
Yeah, we went out with the Thackeray Museum when they closed. They set up an emergency museum, which is I think it's a 1980s ambulance. So they were going around lots of festivals and events in Leeds, and so we went with them to be art doctors with the ambulance, which we obviously wanted to drive somewhere, but didn't get to.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe one day they'll let us drive it. So we were prescribing creative activities and everyday creative activities at that one as well. So it kind of fits into lots of quite interesting places and things now, because it's broadly about creativity, and whilst it can also be about contemporary art as well.
And did you both... Sorry, Liz.
Sorry, no, I was just... Well, I'm sort of celebrating people's own creativity, I think, whether it's making cakes or knitting or doing some drawing at home. I think it's expanded a lot more into what do people do themselves in a sort of everyday sense, or what would they like to do, maybe, and want a bit permission, almost a bit of permission to do it.
Yeah, and I suppose if a doctor's told you that you should do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Always follow your doctor's instructions.
Exactly. If you've got a green prescription that somebody's written on it what you need to do and signed it, and it's got all proper doctor writing on it, and it's a bit more of an incentive.
It's more official.
Yeah.
And how did you two meet in the first place? Did you get together for this project, or had you known each other previously?
Oh, well, Well, we've known each other quite a long time.
Yeah. We both
Alison,
had kids at the same school.
Yeah, and then Alison, we knew each other a bit, and then she drew me into volunteering at Chapel Allerton Arts Festival.
Yeah.
Well, she said, "Oh, would you like to help this year? We could do with some help." And I went, "Oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll sort of shadow you and help out." And she says, "Right, so if you could run that event on the day, that would be great because I'm doing this one." So obviously, I succeeded in the challenge, and she hasn't dropped me yet. So we did that for quite a few years, which I guess gave us a really good relationship in working together and working with other people.
Yeah.
That we want. We sort of stepped away from the festival, but wanted to keep working together. Actually.
And how have you sort of instilled creativity into the people of Leeds during lockdown?
Well, during lockdown, so when it first happened, I think there was a sort of giddy kind of slight sort of weirdness to it all at that point. So we kind of had I very much had a what can I do? What can I do? I need to do things. It all feels a bit different now. But that first week, it's like, right, I've got to make lots of things happen. So we had a conversation about what we might want to do, and we said, oh well, let's just get together and make a film on Zoom of the two of us doing some of the stuff. I think what we've ended up with when we've been prescribing those creative activities is a great big long list which we have on a clipboard which we refer to kind of get ideas of things that we might want to prescribe to people. And I think we just went, oh well, maybe this is an opportunity for us to do these things and spend, a little bit of time together online each week if we can't spend time together in real life, and start making the stuff that we prescribe to people. So I think it started very much as a let's just have a laugh and see, it will be a nice thing to do. The first one we did, we made paper sculptures together. The second one, we made masks by actually sticking things onto our faces, which I think is still my favourite. Well, I don't know, actually. And then we've done some dancing. We danced like manta rays and got our children to soak us with water at the end when it was really hot. And we've done one where we, last week, we got a really big 2 metre long cardboard tube which came out of the inner of a big carpet roll, covered it in neon tape, and then danced in Liz's garden with our arms in it. So that might be my favourite actually. We're kind of socially distanced by 2 metres by this tube, which makes dancing really hard. It makes everything a bit difficult and awkward and unpleasant and uncomfortable. So it's a perfect little kind of lockdown meme, I think. So they've become, it's been really interesting to do some things online, because with Art Doctors in the past, we've always been in a space in real life talking with people. Yeah. And we haven't really thought a lot about what we do online. It's always been for us a kind of extra project to all the other things that we're doing and our kind of day jobs and stuff. So it's been really interesting and really enjoyable to put it in a different place, I think.
Yeah, and I like the irreverence of it as well, because one week we did, it was the American 60s artist Robert Rauschenberg, who's a big cheese in the art history world or whatever, but we did some Robert Rauschenberg paintings one afternoon for 20 minutes, and I really like the kind of irreverence of it, of we're just going to do it, and sort of debunking some of those myths about great artists and genius, and just need to get some materials out and have a good time, I think, is also what I like.
So did you sort of feel like, in a way, you'd given yourselves a taste of your own medicine?
Yeah, well, it has been trying it out, yeah, totally, and seeing what that's like a bit, because often we're prescribing things thinking, oh, I'd quite like to do that, but never get time to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's been good for that, and they're quite, I think over the period of doing them, I've sort of changed from having a rather patronising primary school teacher voice to feeling like I've got into the swing of it a bit more now. It's slightly, I'm not sure if I'm sarcastic, dry, or just serious.
I think what runs through all of them, and what runs through everything we do with Art Doctors, is a feeling, like Liz said, about trying to debunk that you need to be this or you need to be that. So our paintings we did with cardboard and household paints, and that you don't need to be an expert in anything in order to just get on and do it and create something, or to be able to talk about a piece of artwork and have a conversation about a piece of artwork. That we're always trying to kind of pull that apart a bit and show that you can just get on and do it, and you don't have to be perfect and an expert in something.
Yeah, or have the right materials, or
yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it must have been nice for you two to be having something to connect back up together, but also on top of that, I think there is just something really therapeutic about doing any kind of sort of craft or art, and everybody's had a lot more time on their hands, haven't they, to experiment with things, and it seems like everybody's been experimenting one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great stuff that people are doing, little videos and stuff of things that people are doing at home that are really really make me laugh and really inventive. I mean, there've been that interesting one of people doing copies of paintings.
Oh, yeah.
Paintings, which I really love. And then I saw there's a couple who, she's got really long hair, so they turn themselves into a horse and they do this dance to music. And that's a few weeks ago now. It's like I've forgotten it. But actually, there's a whole load of stuff that people are doing at home. It's quite inspiring.
Do you think it's helped you both in your own situations during lockdown?
Yes. Definitely. It's the highlight of my week. And actually, we're kind of getting to the point of going, we've done 12 now, and we just want to keep going.
And do you think you will do that? You'll keep going even after everything goes, but well, if we ever get back to any sort of semblance of normality?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll keep going and doing one every week, but I think we'll definitely think about doing more things in this arena, in the online and through social media.
I've had some interesting feedback from it as well, because there's a bit of a delay in the communication because it's online, and a friend of mine who watched it said it really makes her laugh, the delay, so the reaction is a bit late.
Yeah.
So if someone says something funny, the laugh is a bit late, which she says she finds really hilarious, and finds the sort of slight awkwardness of it quite common. I mean, it is meant to be sort of light and often funny. So there's a format there, I think, to pursue, probably in different ways as well.
And I think what's been lovely about it is that you're doing it on Zoom, and it has, and this is very Art Doctors as well, even the making of the film is something that we're not going to get it dead on right. It's just, we're doing a thing on Zoom, and there's an acceptance, I think, at the moment that things can't be perfect and won't be completely right. So it's just like, we're just making a film, and then we'll just sort of put it out there. And
it sort of takes the pressure off a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. In fact, the one we filmed in Liz's garden with a proper camera was a little bit like, do we have to make a little bit more effort here to get this right and sort of be in frame, and we tried to do that, and then we still weren't quite in frame, but I think it releases that pressure of I think so many people don't start doing things because they worry about the end product, and I've got to make this perfect thing, so I'm not even going to start because it's too scary. So I think we've really enjoyed and weren't really thinking about it at the beginning, that the format of recording on Zoom and not being able to get it right is just the perfect thing for Art Doctors.
And so do you have to join to those live sessions, or do you have them recorded somewhere that people can go and see?
No, they're not live. We do record them and then do a little bit of editing.
Right.
So no, we're not. We should do some live sessions one day, Liz.
We could do some. Yeah, we could try that.
We could try some live sessions. So they are all on YouTube. They're on a YouTube playlist, and we release a new one every Friday. So we release that on our social media channels.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'll put all the links and everything in the podcast notes so that people can click through and watch all of the art stuff that you're getting up to.
Great.
And some people have been watching them, and then on Facebook have been sharing things that they've been doing, which is the thing that we're really wanting to pursue more. Whereas in the past, we're talking in the moment with people, but never always knowing if people go away and continue something or take something up. So this is the online thing is a really great way that people can share very immediately or easily what they've been doing without worrying about how it should look. And so we've been having some nice conversations after different films, depending on which ones people kind of respond to, or they're sharing stuff that they're making at home, and that feels like what we should, where we should be going or could be going, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's always lovely to get feedback, but it's great because you're able to see how you've inspired other people and how sort of, they've taken that in their own direction.
Yeah, or just it's that space to share stuff. People feel that they can do. So the feedback really is often people putting their own thing up or just saying, that made me really laugh. And someone has said this is my favourite thing in lockdown. So.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
It is. And I think one of the things I really hope happens, and not just because of us, but because like we were saying about how people are really getting interested in doing creative stuff at home, and they've got time and they want something to keep them occupied. I really hope that some of that stays, that maybe people will start to sort of reflect on what's important and what's important in their lives, and although this is a really difficult time, that maybe something positive that might come out of it could be that people carry on with those things and just sort of balance their lives a bit.
Yeah, hopefully. I really hope so. Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be nice to know that, some positive things could come out of all this, wouldn't it? And just sort of taking time for yourself, and like you said, just giving yourself permission to have a go at things is a good thing.
Like it's habit, I think. I think if you get in the habit of making something and finding it easy because you're not worried about it being a perfect drawing, or if you just kind of go, well, I'm going to mess around with this thing, and it makes you feel good, and you get in a habit of it, then it's a bit like exercise, isn't it? It's all that stuff. If you just do it for a while, then you miss it when you don't do it.
I think you're right.
And I think also some activities are really absorbing, aren't they? Particularly often things like kind of sewing or a bit of painting, but often a lot of creative activities are being absorbed in something. Yeah. And I know whether it's art doctors or just some activities I do on my own, it really helps my mental health, I think, doing those things and just being able to go somewhere else and be absorbed in in an activity, making something.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, I definitely find that myself as well. Do you have you got sort of ideas for the future? Is it a little bit difficult for you at the moment to sort of plan anything out?
We've got all sorts of ideas.
A feature film.
Well, I would really love to run some art doctors retreats. So we actually go off somewhere and invite people to come and spend actually days with us, and we do just create an atmosphere where people can come up with ideas and try things out and see where it leads them, and in all sorts of different art forms. That sounds brilliant. Yeah, that's the kind of big end point idea. But I think.
Rob, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. No, you go, Liz. So, what are you going to say?
I was just going to say, as long as there's somewhere to swim as well, because that's part of the whole creative thing.
Yeah, we've got to have a lake. Art doctors retreat with a lake, and that's the kind of the fantasy, I think, isn't it? That's where we end up one day. But I think we'd also, we'd really like to do some more work with galleries and museums, and doing the work. We did a project last year called Who's Afraid of Contemporary Art, where we worked with lots of different groups, community groups, and talked to them about their experiences of going to art galleries and what might make it feel more accessible or more comfortable for them. And we, there's all sorts of things that we came up with around taking slippers so you felt more at home. Yeah. Being able to sit down somewhere or lie down. So we really enjoyed doing that, and we at the sort of end of that project we created with those groups a toolkit for gallery visits, which is also available on our website, which you can put as a click through. So we produced them as little cards so people could take them with them, and some of them were questions that you might want to ask yourself as you were going around the art gallery. Some of them were activities you could do. a lot of it is kind of, I think, quite gently, but sort of pushing at the ideas of what those institutions are and the limitations that are put on, the restrictions that are put on people. Because actually, if you go and lie down in an art gallery, everyone's going to think you're really strange. But why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Somebody told me about, they took their shoes off in a gallery in Italy, I think, and were told to put them back on. And you just think, well, what? Why does that matter? It's not going to do any of the art any harm. Why does it matter if she takes her shoes off? So I think we'd be really interested in doing more of that kind of work with galleries and museums about that accessibility and, like Liz was saying, that bridge between people who don't ever cross that boundary into that institution or that organisation, and why don't they, and what's intimidating about it.
I mean, another positive, obviously it's really difficult for arts organisations and how they work in the future, but with all this activity online and people doing stuff, afterwards may be quite different in how people feel confident to engage with things, or that maybe there'll be a stronger link between sort of online and the physical space and what things happen, and maybe hopefully these are opportunities to change some of the ways that spaces are thought about or how they function and how they run, and it'd be great to be part of that, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think, there's been so many great resources for everyone to access during this time, and you can now go and visit sort of museums and art galleries all around the world. And I mean, perhaps you wouldn't click through to that if that wasn't your bag in the first place, but you never know that there might be some people who feel more able to do it from sort of the safety of their own home without anyone looking over the shoulder, and that might sort of help foster an interest that when they can get out into the real world, they may well carry through.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Have you both always... Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think with the online, things being online as well, you can give so much more information than you get often in an art gallery.
Yeah.
So you can kind of access maybe layers of information, because people want different things often from when they're looking at pictures. Some people just want the name of the artist and the title of the piece of work, and other people want a lot more context and stuff. So I think that online capability of giving that extra information is quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Have you both always lived in Leeds?
No. I'm originally from Birmingham, and I lived in Stoke-on-Trent and London, and then but I've been in Leeds for 22 years, I think, maybe now.
I think that's long enough to say that you belong here, really, doesn't it, isn't it?
Yeah, I do feel I belong, definitely.
Yeah.
But, have come in.
I'm originally from Bedfordshire, and then I've lived in Sheffield and London and various places. And when did I move to Leeds? 27. So yeah, I've been here 23 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we can be adopted, I think, can't we?
Yeah, you can, definitely. And also, it means that you're perfectly qualified to answer the 3 questions.
Yes.
The first one being, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
Well, we had a discussion about this before, and I think a lot of it is about how it has a history of and a really strong sort of grassroots culture of getting on with it, setting up your own events or organisations. There's quite a DIY culture of self-organisation, and I think I really like that about Leeds. When I lived in London, I found things like that very difficult.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's real opportunity there, I think. And there's so many different things, particularly kind of in the arts, that are happening in Leeds. Sometimes it's difficult to know about everything, but I think it's really exciting for that. And then what I really realised is something that I really love is the dance that's in Leeds, because it's a real centre of dance, which has been really supported. And I don't know if you've ever been to Transform Festival.
I haven't actually, no.
Well, it's every 2 years, and and what I also like about Leeds is quite a lot of things pop up in different spaces.
Yeah.
And part of that is out of necessity, I think, because there's not necessarily many big venues for arts to be on, but they can be in warehouses, they can be on the street, they could be in the gallery, or they could be in a pub. And last year I saw the most amazing international dance performances that just blew me away, really. So there's that, and there's Compass Festival, which is a live arts performance festival, and that's also commissioning and in different spaces. So I think that really animates the city. So I like that, how people see the opportunity in Leeds of having things happen in unexpected places.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It looks to me like Alison has just dropped out, so okay. I'll just pause it for a second until she comes. So, Alison, are you answering the next question, which is what is not so great about Leeds?
I am, yeah. I'm going to do the negativity. although we did talk about it. We talked about this one as well. So yeah, what we think is not so great is that Leeds city centre certainly is very, very focused on shopping and very, very focused on commercialisation and has been, I think, for the whole time that I've lived in Leeds. I remember all the excitement about Harvey Nichols coming to Leeds and kind of thinking, yeah, whatever. But there's that idea that that's what the city centre is about. And clearly before we had a virus and lockdown and everything, that was becoming a bit problematic already, I think, because obviously a lot of high street shops are shutting down. A lot of people are shopping online. I think even more people will have been doing that now. So I think that Leeds is suffering a little bit, I think, from that idea of this is what the city centre is all about. It's all about shopping. And if you're going to the city centre, it's usually during the daytimes, anyway, at the weekend, to go shopping. So that's the thing that I think we thought wasn't so great about the city, because I suppose it's something that I'm not really interested in. I don't really enjoy shopping. I don't see it as it's a necessity rather than a pleasurable thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think there's a positivity in it, which is about maybe because of everything that's happening now and where we come out economically and financially as a country after all of this, there will be, I think, a pressure for cities to become something more than just places to shop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has a relation to what's great about Leeds is with all that sort of grassroots culture and people setting stuff up, is often they get to a point where it's difficult to continue because there is nowhere to go next because of that focus on the shopping and consumerism and cost and making money from the centre of Leeds. So that can stop that things that becoming even better kind of cultural activity, and that the city shouldn't just be about going in to buy stuff. Like, you should be able to go to the centre of Leeds and just kind of hang out, be in a park, visit stuff. People don't want to pay for things all the time, and there are lots of things that you should be able to do without that.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, I think it's just nice. I mean, when my son was younger, we lived in York for quite a while, and we never had very much money. But quite often it would be like, well, we'll get the bus into town, and so I would have a list of all the free things that I knew you could do in the city centre, and it would always include art galleries, which I think is a great place to take little kids to anyway. But yeah, I think you're right. It would be nice if it wasn't just this idea of just total commercialism. There were other reasons to go into town.
Yeah, and I think some of those things are kind of more open, and that maybe they're not all buildings that you need to go into, but they might be just sort of open, that the city becomes a bit more playful and a bit more about enjoyment and I think basically we just need to install somewhere a number of art doctor clinics, and then we'll just fix everything
with your big prescription pad.
Yeah.
And if somebody had been a resident of Leeds for a long time, would you be able to tell them about something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they may never have heard of?
Well, the Transform Festival that I mentioned is definitely something to look out for.
Yeah.
And then I was also thinking in Chapeltown there's the Northern School of Contemporary Dance has the Riley Theatre.
Yeah.
And they host dance from all over the world. Really amazingly reasonable prices, not much more than a cinema ticket, and as well as student work. And I think I really love going there. I think Alison's got one too.
I have got one too. I'm not sure how much of a hidden gem it is, because I think the people I know all know it, but it might be a hidden gem for some people. Anyway, it's a shop. Having talked about commercialisation, it is a shop, but it's so much more than a shop, and that's I think what is important about, and it's a small independent rather than a big high street. So it's a shop called Colours May Vary, and it's in Munro House, which is near the bus station in Leeds.
Yeah.
And it's run by Becky and Andy, who are brilliant people, and it's just full of really interesting, very kind of design-led things, books, objects, but they also have a gallery space as well, which they just have loads of really interesting, very accessible exhibitions of prints, a lot of print-based work, and they work a lot with the universities as well and show a lot of student work. And they're just a kind of all-round, you can never go in without having a chat with them, and they're really interested in what they're doing. So they feel like so much more than a shop. They're a sort of Leeds institution that I'm hoping is a hidden gem and counts as part of the question.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the people of Leeds. But yeah, I would agree. It's a fantastic place to go, and there's all sorts of things that you can get involved in as just as a sort of a member of the public. I remember they had like a photograph competition, and you got your photographs shown in there, which I thought was a really lovely thing.
I think they're really connected into that idea of creative activity and people getting involved in creative activity and in a very accessible way.
Yeah, definitely.
There's an interesting space in Mabgate that I also thought of, which is called Convention House. Which is part of the East Street Arts organisation, but a separate thing, and that had just sort of started going a few months before lockdown, which is really interesting, and was developing its own kind of broadcast series and residencies for different artists, and a lot, I think, looking at really getting young people involved in organising, events and workshops and things. And it would be look forward to seeing how what they start doing after lockdown, because it's a really interesting space. It's an old nunnery, I think.
Oh, wow.
So they've sort of stripped it out, and there's all these different kind of rooms and spaces, and they have a sort of pop-up bookshop and bar, and it feels quite an exciting potential, I think.
Yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out. And we always ask for a Leeds-based artist or musician to supply a track for the end of the episode. And Liz, you could tell us a little bit about this band and this track.
So this band is called F Equals, who are residents of Leeds. It's a four piece band, all women, all mothers, all middle-aged, and this is it's coming out soon. It's being pressed at the moment, I think, but you can access the video on YouTube, and it's their first single. It's Easy Being in a Band.
That's fantastic. And is it easy being in a band?
Mainly, yeah. So, mainly, yes.
Oh, brilliant! That's great. And what will you both be doing with the rest of your evening?
I've got someone coming around to borrow a gazebo for her son's 18th birthday party in the rain tomorrow.
Oh, no.
And I might go for a walk in the rain. That's about it, I think, today.
Yeah.
I think my children are making pizza at the moment for my tea. And then I think we're doing games, some kind of games.
That sounds like a good thing.
Games.
Sounds like a good thing to do on a rainy night, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so very much for coming along and talking to me. I'm very much looking forward to come and getting my own prescription from you at some point when we're all set free again.
Too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. You could be an online live consultation, maybe.
Well, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd definitely be up for that.
Yes. Because we're going to carry on doing this forever, we're going to need like plenty of subject matter. So yeah, can we get an online prescription?
I will. I'd love to do that, and I'll let you know how I get on.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much, both. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.
The art doctors, Alison, McIntyre and Liz Stirling, were brilliant guests. I really, really enjoyed speaking to them. And I'm going to see if I can be prescribed some art myself. Might help with my mental health, you never know. The song this week was actually by a band that Liz is in, called Easy Being in a Band by F Equals. I think it's a great track and I think you'll enjoy it. Have a listen.
Look and learn from Joe. It's easy being in a band. What's the problem?